Hello everyone, my name is Ethan Barnes. I'm a PhD student working under Dr. Ahmet Jalla, Dr. Stephen Knezovic, and Dr. Nevin Lawrence. So in this study we're looking at the critical period of weed removal in popcorn and whether the application of a pre-herbicide such as Bicep 2 Magnum would affect the critical period of weed removal in popcorn. So this first plot here is the weed-free plot. So no pre was applied in this plot, however we kept all weeds removed throughout the entire season. So just for comparison, this is a plot that was not weeded throughout the whole season, so it has no herbicide on it. It's a natural population in this field. We have velvet leaf, water hemp, and lamb's quarter as the predominant weeds. So you can see there's quite a lot of competition, and the yield reduction will be almost 100% likely. So in this plot, the weeds were removed at the V3 corn growth stage, and no pre was applied. So again, we're seeing a good corn stand, not a lot of height reduction, and the stalks are about the same size, same diameter. In this plot, the weeds removed at the V9 corn growth stage. We're starting to see quite a height reduction compared to the V3 or the weed-free control plot. There is some stand reduction from competition, and overall the stalks are quite a bit thinner in this plot compared to earlier removal timings. So in this plot, weeds removed at the V9 corn growth stage. You can see overall that the corn height has been reduced from the weed competition, and even the stem diameter is quite a bit less compared to the weed-free plots. So if we look at these stems here, they're pretty spindly, not very big around, so the stem's not very strong. So popcorn has a problem with having weak stems as it is. They tend to lodge later in the season, so the effects will probably be seen later this fall before harvest. So the second part of this experiment is to look at whether a pre-application herbicide will affect the critical period of weed removal in popcorn. So in these plots, Bicep 2 Magnum was applied as a pre at planting. This plot, weeds removed at the V3 corn growth stage. So you can see overall we have a good stand, not a lot of height reduction from the few weeds that broke through the pre early, and overall we don't expect a lot of yield reduction when a pre was applied. This second plot here, weeds removed at the V9 corn growth stage. So a pre was applied at planting, and then any weeds that came up in between the pre at planting and V9 corn growth stage were then removed. So again, it doesn't look like the weeds had a lot of competitive effect on this popcorn, and overall probably not a lot of yield reduction.
The bottom left video is the weed-free plot, and we'll see it weeded several times throughout the video, beginning right after emergence. In the bottom right video, you will soon see the first removal timing at V3 without pre-applied. As I mentioned before, no obvious differences were observed between the weed-free and the V3 removal plots. The top left video is the V9 weed removal without pre, and the top right video is the V9 removal with pre. Notice that the weeds in the no pre plot are dense and as tall as the corn. Notice the canopy difference between the weed-free plot and the V9 weed removal plot without pre. Here's a quick look at the yield loss curves comparing weed removal timings with and without Bicep 2 Magnum as a pre. All plots without pre resulted in more yield loss than when a pre was applied. 5% yield loss was reached around 100 growing degree days, or V3, when no pre was applied, and around 430 growing degree days, or V10, when a pre was applied. From this data, we can conclude that the critical time for weed removal in popcorn is greatly affected by the use of a pre-herbicide. Additionally, weeds should be removed before V3 when a pre is not utilized to avoid substantial yield loss. Thank you for joining me while I demonstrate this research project. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me.